Welcome, everybody. How are you today? Good. Thanks for coming out today. My name is Karena Stipp. I am the host here, and today we're going to talk about growing older and staying strong. And most of you probably know I'm a senior specialist realtor, and I work in the senior industry a lot. And these two ladies I've met through a senior networking group that we belong to here in Wake Forest called SING. And so our special guests today are Kristina Wolfe, who's with Prosper PT and Wellness. She has over 25 years experience, clinical experience in physical therapy. She's a credentialed balance and falls professional. I don't know what this means, but I'm sure it's really impressive. APT. Geriatrics, 2020 healthcare hero, and an ECU graduate. And our second speaker will be Valerie Grasso with Endurance Coaching and Personal Training. She is a certified personal trainer. And again, I don't know what these mean, but I'm sure they're very impressive. Level 2 running coach. That probably means she's super fast and I will get eaten by the bear instead of her. That's probably what that means. Multiple American Aerobic Association international certifications. So we're going to start out today with Kristina, and I'm going to switch to her first slide and welcome her up. So I know it's fast, right? Oh, come on up, Kristina. So Kristina, I'm going to hand it over to her, and you've got a clicker here. This is the right arrow for your slides. Okay. Yep. Got it. There you go. Thanks so much.
Okay. The APTA is American Physical Therapy Association. So it's a national association of physical therapists. So I am a balance and falls professional, as we just talked about, but I'm also a physical therapist and just a healthy aging champion. I love to talk about how to age well. So one of the things that we all consider as part of aging is falling, but it doesn't have to be. So even though as we age and we are over 65 years old, we have an increased risk for falls. Everybody's at risk for falls. I'm at risk for falls. It just increases as we age, and there's a lot of reasons behind that. Some of them are based on medications that people go on and the side effects of those. Some of them are just life changes. Depression and anxiety can play a role in that. There's a lot of reasons for why the fall risk increases as we age, but it doesn't have to, and that's what I'm here to tell you about. So to start on the same page, we all need to understand what a fall is. Some people say, oh, I didn't fall. I just slid down to the floor. Well, that is a fall. That is a fall. So the World Health Organization defines a fall as an unintentional event. So if you intended to slide to the floor, then it wasn't a fall. But if it wasn't intended, it is an unintentional event that causes a person to come to rest on the ground, floor, or other lower level. So again, just emphasizing that word, come to rest. It doesn't have to be a hard slam against the ground or the floor. It can be just as gentle as possible. It is still considered a fall. And then near falls can be defined as a slip, trip, or loss of balance that would result in a fall if adequate recovery mechanisms were not activated. So recovery mechanisms, being able to catch yourself when you fall. So those are things that tend to decline as we age, but they can be worked on. It's just like practicing your tennis game. You practice your swing, you practice your serve, you practice reactive balance, and you can help yourself correct near falls. So we already talked about this. Who's at risk for falls? Everyone. We do have an increased risk as we age, more health conditions, more medications, more physical impairments than the rest of the population as we age. So what can you do to reduce your risk for falls? All sorts of things. All sorts of things. We don't have enough time for me to go through all of them, so I'm going to focus on what I know best, which is physical therapy. So, have you ever been to physical therapy? Oh, Val has. You have? Okay. Yeah. So physical therapy, you think of it as something that you do after a surgery or after a hospitalization or because you're in pain. It's not necessarily just for all of that. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more about why. We are movement experts. That is what we are trained to do. We really can't help it. We just look at everybody move around this world and we just analyze you all the time. I'm sorry. It's just part of who we are. My in-laws hate it. But we know a lot about balance. We know a lot about functional strength, gait, endurance. We look at all of these things. And if you don't seem to think you have any issues, but maybe you do remember having that slip to the floor, or you've been trying to walk around and you had a lot of near falls, you've been catching yourself a lot, it might be time to go and get assessed. So, who needs a falls risk assessment? Anyone age 65 or better. I actually would like to see the line come down to 60 because we want to catch you before you start having increased risk for falls. So just like colonoscopies have an age, and mammograms have an age, falls risk assessments need to have an age, and I believe it's 60. I'm going to work on that. Anyone with a fear of falling, there is a cycle of frailty that happens when you have a fear of falling. You tend to move around less. You don't trust your balance as much, and so therefore you don't go out and do things that you used to do, which decreases your mobility, decreases your balance, decreases your strength, decreases your endurance, and actually puts you at risk for more falls just because you were afraid of falling in the first place. So fear of falling is a major factor. If you have any fear of falling, go see a physical therapist so they can give you the confidence to get back into the game. Anyone who feels unsteady and anyone with a history of previous falls, any of those people should be going to get a falls risk assessment annually. We go get our teeth cleaned twice a year. Why not go get a physical therapy assessment once a year? Okay? This is my goal. This is my mission in life, is to get this to happen. Okay, so we said after age 65, we have an increased risk for falls. That's a statistic. That's not you. So do you know your fall risk? That's what's really important in this room right here, is you knowing your individual fall risk. I am a falls risk assessor. I do a lot of assessments on people to determine whether or not they're at increased risk for falls. And these are some of the tests that I use. The single leg stance test, so seeing how long you can stand on one leg. The 5 times sit to stand. I time you how long it takes you to stand up fully and sit down fully 5 times in a row. The self-paced walking test. So that's just you walking at your normal pace, and I time you for a specific distance. And then there's the timed up and go, which involves me timing how long it takes you to get out of a chair, walk to a certain distance, turn around, and then sit back down. So all of these are measurements that have been researched and studied, and they have cut points and norms for your age group, and it tells us a lot about your strength and your just health in general, your physical health. So those are some of the things. And then you'll see down below the little blue line here, these 2 measurements. The FESI is the Functional Efficacy Scale International, and then the GDS is the Geriatric Depression Scale, because, as I said, anxiety and depression play a major role in our risk for falls. So we want to see if there's any indication that might be a contributor to your risk for falls and get you the help that you need. So over here, it kind of came out a little wonky because I had to change this slide into a PowerPoint slide from my Canva slide, but it looks like we can still figure it out. So in single leg stance, I am age 50, so 50 to 59. I should be able, female is right here, male is right here. I should be able to stand on one leg for 40.9 seconds at my age. That's the goal for me. Now, the cut point for increased risk for falls is if you can't do it for 6.5 seconds for anybody. Okay, so anybody that can't do it for 6.5 seconds is at an increased risk for falls. But you can see your age groups, what you should be striving for. Okay, and this is part of what I do. I look at what you can do right now, and we find out your areas of focus, and then I help you develop a plan of working on all of that, okay? So, and this is important for growing older and staying strong, right? So you need to be able to balance in order to be able to do the things that you want to do. All right, this is a video. I don't think it's going to come through, but this was just showing you the test that I do, the 5 times sit to stand, and then the timed up and go. There's actually a dual task timed up and go. I'd love to talk about this one because sometimes we can get up from a chair, walk across the room, come back with whatever we were going to pick up from that other side of the room and sit back down just fine. But if we have to remember what it was that we were going into the other room for, it changes things, and you can tell it in this test. So we do the test without having to think about anything else, and I just time you. And then I give you something to compute or consider. Like if you're a math person, I tend to give you a countdown by 3s from a certain number. Or if you're not a math person, because I know people aren't all math brain, I give you something to say all of the animals that you can think of that start with a letter A. And we do that while I time you during the test. I take the 2 times and I do math and I figure out what your percent of the dual task load is. It means that your brain changed how much energy was going into your mobility because you were using an increased cognitive load. It changed your mobility. Your legs didn't do exactly as fast and easy as they did without having to think of something. And that can be a fall risk. So there's training for that as well. So lots of things. We think we need to keep doing crossword puzzles and word searches. Well, if it's safe enough, let's do them in our head while we're walking so that we can get that dual task working. All right. So the other part of mine is to talk to you about how to invest in your health. There are a lot of ways to invest in your health. And I'll share a story with you in a second. But one of the ways is obviously, as I was talking about, just go to a physical therapist and say, hey, I want to check my balance and my strength and see where I'm at right now. I don't feel as steady as I used to, or I don't feel as strong as I used to. Can you do some tests on me to tell me where I am right now? Insurance may or may not pay for that. When I do them, I'm a concierge PT, so I do cash-based only, and if you want to try to get your insurance to pay for it, I can give you the bill for that. But the insurance industry right now is more reactive than it is proactive, but again, I'm working on that. I'm trying really hard to get this to change. And it's just that important for you. If you think about, okay, we prevent cavities so that we don't have to have a root canal. So we go to our cleanings twice a year, right? So if we want to prevent falls and really big life changes from having to be hospitalized or not being able to do things the way we used to, then we need to do something in the beginning to invest in your health. So that's one way. The other way is just to be active. We know, and we're going to hear more about this through Val. She's going to talk to you all about physical activity guidelines and why they're so important, because we know that it's just being mobile helps you to stay stronger and to prevent falls. So my story is, there is a woman who came in to be my client. She was age 67 when I started seeing her, and she was going through cancer treatment. She was having a lot of difficulty with her balance, her energy level, her strength, and she also developed this right hip pain while I was working with her. Okay, so I did some research, and they do say that some of the chemo treatments can cause hip deterioration, and I was really concerned about that. And so I said, you need to see an orthopedic and see if we can't get this x-rayed. We worked together, and within 1 month of working on the areas of focus that she needed, she made improvements. It was crazy. Even with chemotherapy, even with all that she was going through, just by doing the activity that she really needed to focus her energy on, she made improvements and her falls risk went down. And that was 1 month of working. So fast forward, she waited, gosh, I give her a hard time about this. I think it was about 1.5 years, almost 2 years before she got that hip really taken care of. And boy, let me tell you, it needed to be replaced. She got the hip replacement. She is now an active member here at the Senior Center. She says she feels better now than she even did before she had cancer. So before she knew she was in an illness episode, she, just wasn't as mobile and as strong as she is right now. So this is a really nerdy graph that I just wanted to pull up and show you. But when we age, we do have a functional decline. That's just how we're made, right? We aren't going to live forever. So there is a functional decline. And it is like right here, this is the, here it is. Here's the normal. Effect of age on the function of cells, tissues, organs, and systems of the body. So by age 30, we start to see this go down, okay? But I don't want you to lose hope, because this is normal aging, this little gray line out here. And this is the effects of illness, injury, or inactivity. Okay, so this yellow line. So normal aging puts us way out here at 75, 80 years of age. If you have an illness, injury, or inactivity, it pulls your curve in and takes away some of your lifespan, right? And then this is, what does that say? Oh, combination. That's a triple whammy. So this is when you have illness, injury, and inactivity. So in the case of my friend that was my client, she had cancer. She had inactivity because she wasn't moving around as much as she wanted to. And she had injury. That hip was really bothering her. So she had this triple whammy. It would have brought her age, her lifespan down to below 60. Well, she was already over 60 when it happened. But this is the good news right here. Physical activity and exercise, the green line. You can see normal aging is still here. But if we are physically active and we exercise in some way that is enjoyable to us, that we are going to do over and over, you increase your lifespan and your health span. So it's not just about living longer, it's about quality of life, okay? Same thing, even if you have illness, injury, or inactivity, if you just start exercising and being physically active, it increases your lifespan. And if you have all three, even if you have all three, that's the point of my story. That lady had all three, and she still improved with exercise and physical activity. So don't let these overhanging things that are in your life take over. Just push yourself. Make sure that you are getting involved in doing something every day. If you're not much for getting in the gym or going to exercise class, just do something. I have to go take food to a food pantry later, and I've got to load my truck with all of this food and then unload it at the food pantry. That's physical activity. That's not an exercise necessarily, but it's physical activity. So it can be anything. All right. And I think this is you, Val. You're up. I'll be here for questions after Val is finished with hers. There you are, my dear.
So let me tell you a story about Kristina Wolfe. Kristina Wolfe and I met several years ago. We were in a program called Launch Wake Forest. It's an entrepreneurial program to get young business people started who are in business for themselves. And I had a chance to work with her. She is phenomenal. And I just love everything she said, especially about the sit-stand test, which is a real thing. Does anyone here know anyone who's a couch potato? Does anyone know anyone here who's a couch potato? You do? You know someone who's a couch potato? You're a couch potato? Really? You know, couch potatoes usually don't turn themselves in. So I'm very impressed. A couch potato, by definition, is an inactive and usually overweight person who spends a lot of time watching TV. The origin comes from potatoes, unattractive lumps that grow larger while not moving. Well, I used to be a couch potato. I was a couch potato for a long time. And when I was 43 years old, I am 71 today. Yes. Well, today is not my birthday, but I am 71. All this year, I'll be 71 until February 8th. Then I turn 72. But, I grew up in a family. We didn't exercise. I literally did nothing. And when I got to college, I had a friend who dragged me out on the tennis court to beat balls back and forth to her, which I absolutely hated. And I didn't do anything. And when I married this man in the back, he was a runner, and he used to run 2 miles in our neighborhood. And I used to walk behind him cursing, saying, "Why does anybody do this? This is stupid." But I was introduced to running at age 43, and 6 marathons, over 50 races later, 15 triathlons when we moved to North Carolina in 2016. That is how I got off the couch and became more active. And then I got certified as a running coach, and then I started taking classes and certifications for strength training, which I think is eminently more important, but of course the cardio is important, focusing on the 4 core areas of fitness for adults: flexibility, endurance, strength, and balance. And I'm going to add a 5th one called agility. Agility is the ability to get out the way when that car is coming and to pivot on the sidewalk and go forwards and backwards and sideways and do the things that you need to do. Move it or lose it. Is this it? Okay. So I love what Kristina said. She was talking about unloading that truck with all the food she's going to take to the pantry. Yes, that is exercise. We're going to talk about exercise, but movement. So think about exercise as movement. Some people think of exercise and immediately they get turned off. I don't want to exercise. But you have to move, and you have to move consistently in order to survive. So we're going to talk about how to keep your brain young. So cognitive functioning is about the brain, how the brain works, how we learn, how we access information, how we communicate to one another. Cognitive functioning declines as we age. And Kristina talked about age 35 as the beginning of the physical functioning starting to decline. Well, cognitive functioning also starts to decline at about the same time. And cognitive decline and dementia are both growing public concerns. Studies show that aerobic fitness training with older adults, we're talking older ages 60 to 75, will improve cognitive performance during aging. Who says it's too late? It's never too late. Never too late. Physical exercise affects our brain. It affects our brain, helps us to think, learn, problem solve, reason, and improve our emotional balance, thus keeping our brains healthy. Great. So, exercise helps to create new energy cells called mitochondria. They are energy, that's the powerhouse cells that help us to raise our energy levels, to battle fatigue, which is normal. Increased energy for the body means more energy for the brain. So it's not just about moving the body, it's getting the brain in gear. And I love the way Kristina talked about puzzles and being able to, how many of you do puzzles like Wordle, like words with friends? Those are very important to keep the cognitive functioning moving in your brain. improve pathways in the brain, expand the ability to absorb more information, to be more productive, increase capacities to work longer periods without a drop in productivity. Okay, so I want to change your mindset about exercise. Because we all have, you hear about exercise and the first thing you think is, I gotta join the gym. You don't have to join the gym. So many people join gyms and don't go. So a gym is just a tool to get you there. It's the little things. It's the little things we do every day that are gonna make a difference. Small but powerful things we do to change our thinking through activity. So, are you an escalator person or a stairs person? So raise your hand if you are a stairs person. Awesome. Okay, I see about half the hands. Raise your hand if you are an escalator person. Okay, let's talk about that. Now, let's talk about the physical benefits of taking the stairs. Stair climbing is a cardiovascular event. It raises your heart rate, okay? It improves your cardiovascular fitness, even in short bursts. Even in short bursts. Stair climbing burns calories 2 to 3 more times more calories than taking that escalator, and from walking on a flat surface. So we've got cardiovascular health, we've got calorie burning. When you climb those stairs, you are engaging all of those muscles, okay? Quads, your hamstrings, your glutes, your calves. You're engaging all of those muscles simultaneously. And then bone density. When you're going up the stairs, you're using your body weight. The weight-bearing nature of climbing stairs helps maintain and improve bone density, reducing osteoporosis risk. Now, why do you think people don't take the stairs? They get out of breath. What are the other reasons? One thing I notice is balance. That could be an issue for some people, particularly as we age. Navigating the stairs requires you to move unconsciously. Coordinate those skills between moving your feet and your legs and going up. Even if you have to stop, it's way better than the escalator. It's way better than the escalator. Now look at that escalator. There's 100 people on there. I know people who say, oh, I'll get on the escalator and I'll walk up quickly. Where are you walking quickly on that picture? Okay, because there are people who are, there used to be rules. You stood to the right. If you were moving to the left, you were standing still. Well, they all look like they're standing still. Let's think about the mental benefits of taking the stairs. Even brief periods of stairs, and that's not a difficult amount of steps, will trigger endorphin release. These chemicals in your brain. It will help to improve your mood. Yes, you get to the top and you're tired. You're just a little out of breath, but you recover quickly. But the important thing is to make the effort to take the stairs. Increased blood flow from physical activity benefits the brain and may improve your focus for the next thing you have to do when you get off the stairs. And then choosing the stairs consistently helps form a habit. A habit. A habit is a healthier way of making choices. And so that's why. Practical applicability, the stairs are easier to find generally than an escalator. They're always available. What if there's a power shortage? You ever been on an escalator and it stopped because there's a power shortage? I've been on that, and then you got to either walk up or get off and go take the stairs. Time efficiency. Believe it or not, during non-peak times, not here, or just for a few floors, stairs can actually be faster than waiting for an escalator. Okay? So these are things I want you to think about. So let's talk about that mindset. There's an underlying value system that affects all of the choices we make, okay? Think about your own value system, okay? What's important? You may think, well, I'm saving energy by going up the escalator. Not necessarily. You may get more heart moving, get more heart flowing going up the stairs. Now, traditional beliefs about exercise are terrible. We believe you got to join a gym. How many of you believe you must join a gym to do exercise? You do. Or you may believe that you need to be sweating profusely in order to get benefit out of exercise. Is there anyone who believes that? Oh, you have all the beliefs. Okay. So untrue. And Kristina talked about that. It's the small and powerful little things we do, like unloading that truck with the food, like gardening. Some of the gardening you can do can be very strenuous. You're up and down. You're up and down. Carrying, mulch and plants. And, that's really important. That is exercise. And our lives are a series of powerful and small choices which make a huge difference. Small changes will change your life. You don't have to be all in. A lot of people, when they start working out, I'm going to work out an hour a day. Now, if you've never worked out, you're setting yourself up for a huge disappointment. Take small incremental steps. Could be 20 minutes. 20 minutes. You can do a lot in 20 minutes, okay? And then you build up to that hour. If you think the hour is the gold standard, I don't think it is. I like to see small, shorter bursts of exercise. These intentional choices we make will make a difference. So think about that the next time you see stairs and you see an escalator, and think about maybe taking the stairs. In order to change our mindset about exercise, we have to get comfortable doing hard things. Embrace challenges. Look for opportunities to try new things. There is no cookie cutter approach, okay? You come to the senior center, there are so many different classes you can take. There are groups that you can meet with to go walking or to go running or whatever your activity is. What is your why? Think about it. What is the reason that would make you devote 20 to 30 minutes to doing something physical every day? Not on most days, on all days. Develop resilience. Learn from your mistakes. Mistakes are just that. You just keep it moving. You treat setbacks as opportunities to grow and learn, but not to stop. Question negative thoughts. So everyone, have you ever had a negative thought about exercise? Yeah. Have you ever, Kristina gets up in the morning and works out with a group. Have you ever gotten up in the morning and went, Absolutely. Absolutely. I was in boot camp this morning at 5:30 in the morning, and I was up at 4:45, and I set the alarm for 5 more minutes, and then I realized if you don't get up right now, it's over. It'll be 7 o'clock before you get up. But I went to the gym, and we have a 5:30 boot camp at Granite Falls, and it was just wonderful. Overcome obstacles by staying focused on your goal. Positive self-talk. I talk to myself all the time, okay? It doesn't come easily, but you have to just talk yourself through. Talk yourself down off the ledge. If you think, this is just too hard, I'm going home. No. Take 5 minutes, practice some breathing, and then get back at it. It's all about progress, not perfection. None of us are perfect. And I have good days and bad days. Kristina was asking, who has gone to physical therapy? Well, I had a full knee replacement in December, and I go to physical therapy 3 times a week. And I'm making progress, not as much progress as I thought I would make. I thought I would just breeze through this. That did not happen, okay? My husband will tell you, the first 2 weeks were horrifying. You know, I had a walker, I was on a lot of medication, then I graduated to a cane, and then I was off the cane, but I still had difficulty walking. But that has improved tremendously. Okay, summary. We're going to take a quiz. Everybody take a piece of paper. So I'm going to give you some common ideas about working out. And you can tell me if it's true or false. Let me find them. And I have some prizes. I don't have many prizes. I have 5 prizes, but I have some prizes. Okay. Common ideas about exercise. Idea number 1. Exercise has to be painful to work. No pain, no gain. Either write a yes or no. Second idea about exercise. Cardio is the best way to lose weight. Would you like me to repeat it? Okay, first one was exercise has to be painful in order to be effective. No pain, no gain. The second is cardio is the best way to lose weight. The third idea is you need to exercise for hours every day. You need to exercise for hours every day. The fourth idea is strength training makes women bulky. Makes women bulky. The fifth idea is you can spot reduce fat. In other words, you see fat across the middle, you can spot reduce that. The sixth idea is that stretching prevents injuries. And the seventh is exercise allows you to eat whatever you want. Okay, let's start with the first one, no pain, no gain. How many think that is true? No pain, no gain. Okay. Why do you think people believe this? So in the 80s, when this fitness craze really started, people believed that this burning sensation that you got doing intense exercise meant it was working, it was effective. And many instructors reinforced that idea, unfortunately. The reality is some discomfort is normal when challenging your muscles, but actual pain is your body's warning system to stop. If you feel actual pain, there is a difference between being uncomfortable and being in pain. Effective exercise can feel challenging without being painful. So you got to distinguish between discomfort and potential injury. You don't want injury, which is why you want to stop if it's really causing you pain. Now, remember, our bodies are lazy, okay? Our bodies are lazy. We want to take the easiest route. We want to do what's faster and quicker. But exercise isn't like that. If you decide you want to exercise, get a trainer. Get someone who knows what they're doing. Proper form is everything. Okay, number 2. Cardio is the best way to lose weight. Who believes that? Does anyone believe that? Okay. Cardio visibly burns calories and makes you sweat, creating the impression that you're getting maximum fat burning. And many cardio machines will tell you how many calories you burned on the treadmill or the bike, reinforcing this belief. But the reality is you must include strength training. You must include strength training. Strength training builds muscle, builds lean muscle mass, which is what you want, which increases your ability to burn calories. It increases your resting metabolic rate, helps you burn more calories even when you are not exercising. So we say in strength training, in cardio, you burn calories for the next hour. In strength training, you burn calories all day long. Okay? The next one, you need to exercise for hours daily. Does anyone believe that? So if you look at the celebrity workout routines and fitness influencers show lengthy training sessions, go on YouTube, you can see them, creating the impression that more is better. More is not always better. You can do a 20-minute strength training session. You can do a 30-minute cardio session. It can be highly effective when done together. Okay, the key is consistency and proper intensity. We're not training for a marathon, okay? You don't need to spend hours and hours and hours. You need to do targeted workouts that are short but effective. Okay, the next one, strength training makes women bulky. Who believes that? Does anyone believe that? People see professional female bodybuilders and assume all weight training leads to that. It does not. Women typically have lower testosterone levels than men, making it difficult to build significant muscle mass without specific training protocols. So there is no danger of you developing that kind of bulk. But strength training will change because it will help you to develop lean muscle mass, which is what you really want. Okay, you can spot reduce fat. Who believes that? You believe that? I can do 200 sit-ups a day and it's going to spot reduce my middle. This has been taught for decades in physical ed classes. Who went to physical ed and they ended with doing crunches? You know, and you figured, well, if we're doing 50 in class, I'll do 100 on my own every day. This is not going to help. This is a misconception. Fat loss occurs throughout the body based on a number of factors. Genetics is one, hormones is one, not based on which muscles you're working. While targeted exercises strengthen specific muscles, they don't preferentially burn fat in one area. Okay? You can overall burn fat, but you're not going to burn fat in that one area alone. Stretching prevents injuries. Has anyone ever heard that? Okay? Why do people believe that? Well, in classes, we emphasize stretching, static stretching. There's a difference between stretching you do before you work out and dynamic stretching you do after the workout. Static stretching actually can weaken muscles. So we do dynamic warm-ups that increase the heart rate and prepare the body for the work that we're going to do. Okay, last one. Exercise allows you to eat whatever you want. Who believes that? Okay, Kristina, put your hand down. You know that's not true. People often overestimate the calories they burn during exercise while underestimating the calories they consume. I had a lady who said to me once, what is your goal? We were working out, and she says, I want to burn 500 calories in this hour workout. And I said, why? She said, because I want to eat a brownie. I said, just eat the brownie. You know, that is not a goal. You're not burning 500 calories so you can ingest 500 calories. So that means that it's important to journal, write down what you eat, how much you eat, track it, recognizing exercise cannot compensate for a poor dietary choice. So in summary, start changing your brain thinking about exercise. Start small with specific examples of minimal movements with significant events. I would suggest begin with just 5 to 10 minutes daily. Try something new. I started line dancing. Line dancing is really hard. Okay, now I like to dance, but line dancing is scripted and choreography. And there's a leader. And it's repetitive. And you're moving all the time. Don't worry if you don't have weights. You can use bottles of water. You can use cans of food. Cans of food you have in your pantry. You can buy stretch bands, which I have some here, really inexpensive. You don't have to invest in huge weights. Now I'd like for each person to write down one idea that you've gotten from our presentations today, Kristina and me, one idea of something new that you would like to try. Just one idea. One idea. Okay, who would like to share that idea? Their idea. Yes. And tell me the idea. Oh, okay. Being able to. Absolutely. Who else would like to share their one idea? Anyone else have an idea? Yes. Yay! That is great. Anyone else want to share an idea? Yes. You definitely need the strength training. I love strength training, and I was a runner for many, many years. But that strength training is so important to incorporate that. Anyone else? Okay, for the three of you who gave out suggestions, I have prizes. Thank you so much. Oh, last thing, what is the best exercise for you? The one that you will do. People ask me all the time, what's the best exercise? The one that you will do. I could prescribe anything for you, but I don't know you, and you know you, and you know there's some things you're just not going to do, okay? You're not going to do skateboarding, I don't think. Or maybe you will, but find something that you will do. I'm Coach Val.
Thanks, Val. So if you'll stay up front, I'm going to open up for questions. And if you'll give me just a second, when you raise your hand, I'm going to run to you and have you speak into the microphone. Okay? And then so let me leave the microphone up front here.
For you to do that one or this
I can run this one. This is
Okay.
okay. Okay, so who has a question for either Kristina or Val? Any questions or comments? You already made them.
Okay, she's got one first. Hold on.
I'm not sure this is actually related, but I see on TV the exercise or machines for like legs and feet. It looks too good to be true. Now, we're walkers, so we do get that sort. But there are days when we don't get out for one reason or another. What are your thoughts on those kinds of things?
You're talking about the automated, like,
It's like
you turn it
it's-
on and your feet do this.
Right.
My opinion is that it is going to move your legs for you and it will burn a few calories, but it's not as beneficial as you just walking laps in your house.
It's not dangerous as far
No,
as it wouldn't harm.
No, it's not.
function or
It's
anything.
not harmful. It's very, very low level mobility. It's what we would call in physical therapy passive range of motion. So it's really just passively moving your limbs for you, just lubricating the joints and not really utilizing very many muscles at all. So, your thoughts?
I agree with you. I don't like those machines. I think they're a quick fix. I think people like them because it gives the semblance that you're working out. It's better than doing nothing. But what would be better is using a machine where your legs are actually moving back and forth, that you have to move them, or walking quickly. I just don't. I don't like the machines. I know they're there. They're very popular.
Okay. So I have a question about you said your concierge
Yes.
business plan. So I'm familiar with concierge medical providers. You pay them a flat fee and you get, an appointment when you call. How does a physical therapist work as a concierge service?
It's a term that we use to say we don't bill insurance. So there are fees for my service, and I can give you an itemized bill in order for you to determine whether or not your insurer will pay you back. But it's a la carte. Yes, it is a la carte. I do have several pieces of my business where you would buy a package of 6 one-on-one wellness sessions with me, and then you can re-up and do another 6. But I'm not in the business of doing like an annual membership at this point in my business. But I do have a la carte options. I have group wellness options, one-on-one options, assessment options. There's all kinds of things in my business model.
And I think,
Yeah. Okay. So I'm trying
Let me just comment what Kristina just said. So I work with individuals in their homes. We work in packages of 3. And I come to your home, we do an assessment of what you need, of what you're interested in, and I design a workout that is specifically for you.
So you mentioned dementia and depression, I think. Trying to determine whether I've been told a myth or not. She said that she'd seen research out on the internet about antihistamines and depression medications causing more cases of dementia. Have you seen anything like that?
I haven't, but that doesn't mean that it's not true. I just don't have that knowledge. That would be probably more of a pharmacist that would be able to give you that information.
NC.org, I think it is. And the contact there is Lisa Levine. Yeah, that's my contact there. DementiaNC.org. I don't think it's .com, but try that. They would probably have more information about that, just
Yeah.
because it's outside of the realm of.
Yeah, it's outside of the realm of
Movement.
physical therapy.
Yeah.
I know that medications often have side effects, but I don't have the information about the prevalence of certain meds causing increases in dementia. I don't know that.
There's an increase in dementia, like nationwide, and she found that it was due to all the people taking antihistamines and depression medication.
Well, and in my world, we only find out the information that we look for. So it might be that there was a study on antihistamines and depression medications to find out if it causes more dementia. And so that was done, that research was done. But in my world, I know that if we're more active, our brains are healthier, we have more oxygen to the brain, it's going to stave off dementia. And so is there a study that we could also put out there that says, are we getting more dementia because we're not as active as a nation? So that's the way I look at it.
Yeah, there's a correlation. Yeah. Okay, who else has a question?
I
Anybody
read
else?
this statistic that
Val?
50% of all adults over the age of 60 say that they exercise once a week. And then 73% of all adults over the age of 60 don't exercise at all and admit that they don't exercise at all. Those statistics are appalling, okay, because of that cognitive decline that happens. If your brain is not productive and active and you're exercising, it's just a recipe for an earlier getting into trouble. You've really got, I don't care how old you are. If you're 70 and you're just starting, start. Don't say, it's too late. It's never too late. You have to do something. Make a commitment. Mr. Couch Potato right there. Make a commitment to do something. He's looking all around.
He's like, who's she talking to?
I know.
Who's she talking to? I have one comment to add to what Val just said about it. It doesn't matter what age you are, just start. If you all are on social media, there is a company, I guess it's more of a nonprofit, I believe, called Growing Bolder. So BOLDER. They put on some of the most inspirational people out there that are doing incredible things. And you would think, oh my gosh, she's 96 and she's teaching yoga 3 times a week. How incredible is that? But it's just proof that it doesn't matter how old you are. Age is really just a number, depending on how you treat your body.
Okay, we got a question here.
I was just going to say, on Val, your comment, I wonder, though, if the people who, as you said, consider exercise going to the gym, they don't realize cutting the grass, washing dishes, carrying things, if that is indeed exercise. And they say, oh, no, I only go to the gym or something once a week. But on a day-to-day, are they walking? Are they doing things that they don't even realize are exercise? So that gives me a little bit of hope.
So the thing about the gym, I work at a gym very part-time. This has been my personal experience. I'm speaking for myself. Gyms do not cater to over 40. Okay? Now, here are things that gyms do that I don't like. The transition from exercise to exercise. You're in a class. You're on the floor. Then you're up. Then you're on the floor. Then you're up. And they don't give any transition time for you to make that transition. AMRAPs, as many reps as possible. That's a thing in the gym where an instructor will say, we're going to do 7 minutes of AMRAPs. Then they'll tell you 5 exercises. We're going to do squats. We're going to do lunges. We're going to do stepping up on a stool. They'll name 5 exercises, and they'll give you 7 minutes. And then you're off to it. They'll say, well, we're going to do 1.5 minutes of each one. Well, I lose the transition. I forget. What are the 5? You know, I can get to 3, but then I'm looking around to see what everyone else is doing to see if I'm on track. I just think for older population, you need more transition time. Third thing, stretching. They don't spend enough time at the end of the group workout to stretch. And I was in a class once, and I like to be on the front row, and someone in the back, and I knew this guy, he was 65, and he said, hey, there are people back here, we're having trouble with the transition. And basically the instructor said, well, do the best you can. That was the response. And I thought, really? That's a real concern. It takes some of us a little time to get off the floor, to get up, to do the next exercise, to get back down on the floor. I think I teach classes there that cater to the over 50. And so we have lots of transition time. We stretch. There's 4 parts to a workout. You do a warm-up, okay, you do the work, you do a cool down, and then you do the stretching. And the stretching is just as important as the other parts of the work.
I would think that stretching and agility would go hand in hand. Is that correct?
Well, agility is more of that like fast work to try to change directions and move in multi directions. So that is more, I would say that goes a little bit more with like the cardio or the balance than it does with the stretching. As Val was saying, there's several types of stretching. There's ballistic stretching. So if you've ever seen a swimmer warm up on its, what is that thing called that they stand on? Anyway, they go like this, you know? Their arms are moving like this. That's ballistic stretching. It is engaging the muscle in its extreme range of motion in a form that is going to wake up the muscle and get it ready for that swim. At the end of the meet, that's static stretching.
Where you're holding.
Holding it at end range, getting the range of motion back in the joint from, and the length in the muscle from the activity that you just engaged in. And there are forms of that are too extreme. People think that you have to feel pain in order to get the stretch. No. It is to the point of tension. Right there is where I find my muscle has tension in it. Some people, it might be there, but that's not where I am. I'm here, and that's where I stop. So don't think just because you see somebody reaching all the way into the middle of their back that you're supposed to be stretching that far. You might just be doing this, and that's fine. Just hold it there and just put a little tension on it. You should never hurt yourself to stretch yourself.
And I think the problem in the gym is you have a group, and the younger people want that 50 minutes of bang, 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 and they don't care if there's 5 minutes of stretching. You know, they don't need it, or they don't think they need it. They want 50 minutes of high intensity movement, and that's not good. You need time for the stretching.
Okay, other questions? Comments?
I have pictures in the back of where I started on my journey and where I am now. I've lost close to 100 pounds. So if you want to see them, they're in the back.
How long have you kept it off, Val?
No, I have kept it off.
No, but how long?
Well, I started in 2005.
Okay, so 20 years.
Yeah,
that's
I
fantastic
hadn't
because
thought
that's
about
your
that.
way. Yeah, that's
Wow.
not the norm. Congratulations.
That's awesome.
Okay, just a couple of housekeeping slides if you're finished with questions. Downsizers Club will be back here in this room next week. And there's a flyer about that if you are new and don't realize what that is. It's you can learn how to eat the elephant a bite at a time and work through all of the clutter that you might have or the things that you want to get rid of. So we do that a little at a time, and it'll be at 10 a.m. May 21st. If you'd like to see replays of the seminars, they're on my website, southernaccenthhomes.com. And next month we'll be back here planning travel for retirement. And that is June 11th from 10 to 11:30. Thanks so much for coming, everyone. I look forward to seeing you at the next one. Thank you.